we do run financial forecast, right? So we use Money Guide Pro, and they get their probability of success. And many of our clients have 99, which would be the highest you can have. And it's a different conversation. Now it starts evolving into what else is going to create happiness, because it's not, hey, just go spend money because you have money now. It's what use of these resources that you've built up is going to create happiness for you. And then that evolves into, a lot of charitable discussions, family gifting. What else do you want to do with this money? It's a great question for those folks. But I phrase it in a lot of different ways. A lot of advisors will phrase things to get clients thinking. And one of them is, you won the game. You have a 99. You've won. What else can we do here with this? You've secured your financial life. What other good do you want to do with this money that's going to make you happy?
Welcome to Sterling Insights, Stand Out and Supercharge Your Assets, the go-to podcast for financial advisors aiming to grow their assets under management, stand out in a crowded market, and retain assets nearly forever. Are you advising high net worth clients who own appreciated capital assets? Do you want to help them sell without losing a quarter, a third, or even more of their hard-earned profits to capital gains taxes? Then this podcast is tailored for you. Each episode brings you the latest strategies and expert advice from leading financial advisors, seasoned attorneys, and experienced CPAs. Learn how to maximize your clients' wealth, minimize their taxes, and supercharge your advisory practice with actionable insights. Join us on Sterling Insights, Stand Out and Supercharge Your Assets, where you'll gain the knowledge and tools to set yourself apart and achieve unparalleled success in wealth management. Subscribe now and empower your practice for a brighter, more prosperous future. Welcome to Sterling Insights, Stand Out and Supercharge Your Assets. I'm your host, Roger Silk. With us today is Steve Erfle of Thrive Wealth Management. Steve co-founded Thrive in 2013 to create a fiduciary client-first experience to deliver comprehensive, personalized financial planning to their clients. Steve's firm has grown by prioritizing strong relationships and a holistic approach to wealth management. Steve started his career at SEI Investments, which I think is now known as SEIC officially. Is that right?
I think so.
Where Steve started his work with high net worth individuals. He then went to Legacy Advisors and United Capital Private Wealth Counseling, where he expanded on the high net worth to include ultra high net worth. Steve holds an MBA in finance from St. Joseph's University, and he is a youth sports coach and golfer and basketball player. I miss anything crucial, Steve?
No, you got it. Maybe the 4 kids. That takes up quite a bit of time.
4 kids, yeah. How old are your kids?
My youngest is 9. My oldest is 15.
Oh, what fun ages.
It is fun. A lot of fun.
So how do you have time for anything in addition to the coaching and sports?
I set up one of our offices. We do have 2, a mile from my house. So that makes a big help in kind of getting where I need to go.
Did you start in investments, or did you do something else prior to SEI?
So my very first job out of school, kind of broke and get out of the house and get started in life. I did automobile claims for a high-risk auto company in Conshohocken, which was actually kind of an interesting experience, right? So learned a lot there, but also learned that was not what I wanted to do, and did that for only 1 year, then kind of went back to the industry and started at SEI.
And SEI, I think, is right next to you. They're in Oaks.
They're in Oaks, yeah.
And how far is that from Bluebell?
Probably about 20 minutes, 25 minutes. I like to kind of say SEI is like a mini-esque Vanguard, because Vanguard's also, in our backyard. But they have a lot of different business lines. So not the exact same business, but a similar kind of culture.
And how long were you at SEI?
About 5 years. Did my master's at night, coaching
Hmm.
basketball as well, and have a lot of good, experiences from SCI. Really good culture, good people.
And then you were at Legacy Advisors. Now, there are a number of firms called Legacy Advisors. Which one was this?
So this one's in Plymouth Meeting. The main principal, Mike Piaciowicz, actually played basketball in college with his son. And at the time, he had started his RAA side of his business and wanted to kind of expand that and went and worked with him. And they do really good work, kind of ultra high net worth clients, a lot of sophisticated, estate planning, asset shifting, family business type planning. So learned a lot from them and kind of wanted to look at a different market. I call them the underserved area of people that might have $1 million investable assets up to 10 million. They kind of are orphaned a little bit. And it left Legacy to join United Capital to bring the planning work, but also learn about those folks and be able to help them. So that was kind of a good pivot. Every experience has been really good. They all kind of craft you to where you get to, I think.
Yeah. In your mind, these days, what is ultra high net worth? Starts at where?
Gosh, I guess the number keeps going up, but probably 50 million and above, I would think.
Yeah. Okay.
What I found when I was at Legacy, the investment universe thinks of money in liquid terms, but in that world, 50, 75, 100 million of it could be a business valuation, right? That's on their balance sheet, but it's a very different asset than the investment universe thinks of things.
Right. And then you, along with your co-founder, started Thrive in 2013.
Yeah, United Capital was kind of interesting. They were, a roll up of RAs across the country. And I think there were 60 firms that rolled into United Capital where the founders, probably took some liquidity off the table, some shares in United Capital. A lot of the structures were different depending on the deal. So what we found was we were kind of building things out and we kind of looked at each other. My partner, Mike Tazinski, who I've known since I was 21 or 22, we worked at SCI together, kind of looked at each other and said, why don't we give this a shot, and go off on our own. And that's how we kind of launched Thrive from his home office in 20.
Where did your initial clients come from?
So kind of being around the industry, it helped, right? Having relationships with different accountants and attorneys, right? So initially we, had built a business plan, started getting out and telling a story of the model we want to deliver for folks. I think we did a couple things that were helpful in the beginning. We created an advisory board, people with different specialties to join that board. For example, a mortgage broker, an estate lawyer, an accountant, insurance broker, people we knew, and kind of took them out to dinner, had a presentation on the model we wanted to build, and kind of pulled them in as like a quasi board to get their opinion. It was great. We got a lot of good feedback. We also got kind of a vested personal interest from those folks to help us
Hmm.
to want to send clients over. So that was really good. And then we did a similar board of our early clients that came on, making them feel like they were a part of it. Hey, what do you want to see us deliver? How do you want us to build this firm? What services do you feel like you're not getting out there in the marketplace that we can craft this company towards?
Uh-huh.
And then that also brought them in the fold where they wanted to refer colleagues, friends, family members. So those were two early projects I think that were successful, helped us grow.
And how old were you and Mike approximately when you did that?
Well, I'll give you the full picture. I was 33. My wife stayed at home. I had three kids at the time. I added another along the way. And I was kind of one of those back against the wall, this better work type of thing, right? I loved it. It was funny,
Yeah.
10, 11 years later, I kind of miss that time. It was exciting and fast paced. And yeah, I really enjoyed it.
I bet you missed parts of it and not other
That's
parts.
true. That's true.
Yeah, I think I was, well, when did I, about the same age. Yeah. I mean, there's no, I don't think there's any perfect time, right? Because you've always got some reason why now would not be the good time. And yeah, the first few years are, for most people, I think, are a bit of a high wire act.
They are, for sure. But it kind of took off for us. And, again, it was a lot of fun. And you're right, there's obviously challenges on having to still be able to pay bills and kind of keep the ship going.
It's that bill paying thing
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
makes it challenging, isn't it?
my one war story is I had to go to my father. I think I don't know, $1,500 short for my monthly bills that month. And he didn't care. He was going to lend me the money. It wasn't a big deal to him. But for me, it was one of those moments where I was like, wow, okay, this is real, right?
Yeah.
I had a client sign on for a planning fee later that week, paid him right off. And it definitely drives your energy, your behavior to kind of be in that situation.
And now you guys are managing how much?
So the latest numbers are about 1.3 billion. The number I'm probably more proud of is it's 700 households. So it's not a volume game. We deliver full planning services and investment management services to those folks. We don't have anybody where we've just opened an account without building a financial plan.
What is your ideal client? Not necessarily a real client, but the ideal
Yeah.
client.
I mean, I think there's soft attributes that are important that advisors may overlook. And people that are willing to take advice and follow that advice. They're not combative, they're not Googling everything. They really have developed a high level of trust with you, where you're
Uh-huh.
partners and you're kind of working on this together. We probably generally have a good market of pharmaceutical executives. Right where our location is, we have GlaxoSmithKline, Johnson and Johnson, Merck, kind of right in our neighborhood here. So there's a lot of folks in that industry that are nearing retirement. They may have done some work or haven't done anything and need to kind of get their act together. But that's been a decent niche of our client population. So that's one area, probably 3 to 5 million of investable assets in that niche that I just described that works with us. Another interesting thing we did in the beginning was, being young, we had a lot of peers that had high, adjusted gross income or high numbers on their tax return, but not a lot of significant assets. And we found that those folks needed a lot of help, right? They were probably getting their families started or growing. They needed the college planning. They needed the wills, the powers of attorney. They needed the term insurance. They needed somebody to help them set up their benefits, their executive benefits through their company. So they needed a lot of planning help, but didn't have the assets. So they were overlooked by a lot of people in our industry, right? So what we did with those folks is we just kind of came up with, okay, what's enough for us to break even from a fee pricing standpoint? These are great people that are going to be great clients long term. We kind of labeled them accumulators and charged them a planning fee. And those folks have really, really grown with us, led to a lot of referrals to family members or colleagues of theirs. So that was another kind of interesting thing that evolved along the way with the company. And I still think that's an area that's people need a lot of help and there's not a lot of service offered to them.
So if I did the math right, 3 billion spread across 700 households, a little bit less than two million per.
Yeah, and I think you know how this usually works. There might be some folks at 500 or a million, and then you have some
Right.
larger ones. I think our larger clients, we have a couple $40 million relationships, some tens and 15s. It's kind of across the board.
Uh, no, and you're measuring actual AUM, not client net worth.
That's correct. Yeah, and that is
So,
the
that,
money
sorry.
we're directly managing, not including
Yeah.
401k, their house, their
Right.
pensions.
Okay. Yeah. So I know you mentioned business owners, and are any of them in that category?
We have a few. Most of our clients are not business owners. We have a handful, obviously, but a lot of executives, I would say.
And would a lot of your executives have company stock, big chunks of company stock?
Yeah, and they're looking for advice around stock options, their restricted stock units they may have, concentrated positions where they need some help to diversify and think about taxes, that type of thing.
Yeah. What do you do for, like, what are your go-to solutions for, say, concentrated? I mean, the compensatory is really hard to do anything for.
And the answer is not that exciting. I think the answer is developing a plan. And part of that is focusing on diversification. where a lot of these folks, their entire income is tied to that same institution they have a lot of stock in, right?
Yeah.
So it's really developing, okay, what is our reasonable tax budget for the year that we're going to realize gain? And let's have a plan to divest on an annual basis.
So this is your time, Steve. I don't want to take it up, but we have solutions exactly in that area where I'd like to talk to you offline about, but
Sure,
I hear
sure.
that that basically allow people to do it, don't have to do it over time. You can do it right away if you want, no tax, but we should talk about that separately.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
Another area that I know you guys do a lot of with philanthropy, just from looking at your website. Another solution, a lot of folks, if they're charitably inclined, is donor advised funds are easy to set up, and a lot of times will front load funding that account for them with the concentrated
and
stock.
that if, as you said, the key is they're charitably inclined.
Correct. Correct.
Our experience is that's not, I mean, there are plenty of people, perfectly good people, and they're charitable. They're just not ready to make that, enough of a contribution right now. They're not willing to give that up right away. And
Sure.
so we work with lots of people like that. Yeah. All across the spectrum.
Yeah.
What would you say is sort of like what makes Thrive unique? I love the name, by the way. It's a fantastic name.
And I know this is going to sound like a hokey story, but I was sitting in my kitchen. My wife's kind of a health nut, and she had a book called Thrive Foods.
Mm.
And I just kind of, the name stuck with me. And the industry, in my opinion, has a lot of names that are very much protection of wealth, right? Preservation, not really things that get you excited when you're thinking about your money. And I
Uh-huh.
thought that Thrive had a different spin of, hey, obviously protecting and preserving is important, but we also want to grow your net worth and, foster other areas in your life. So it just had a more of a positive spin to the name. So that's how it kind of came about.
It's a great name. So if someone's listening and they wanted to, it's like they were sitting down with you and say, "Hey, Steve, give me like 30 seconds or 2 minutes or however long it takes you. Why Thrive as opposed to one of the many other RIA type firms out there?"
Yeah. And, I think what does set us apart from a service perspective, you're not a number, you're not a household client with an account, right? You're a relationship to us. And I know a lot of other RAs do that as well. And there's a lot of good firms out there. But our service model is very high touch where we're getting right back to you. I mean, a lot of times the emails are answered within, 20 minutes or a phone call is handled right away. So you kind of have that person that you can rely on for anything in life. It's not an 800 number. We know you, we know your situation, we get to the answer pretty quickly, and then we implement, right? A lot of our clients are very busy. So we're going to do as much as we possibly can for them. There's situations where we can't for compliance reasons, but when we can get something done for somebody, we're going to do it so they can kind of continue going about what their specialty is in that space. I mean, outside of that, I think it's a lot of the stuff that folks have heard before, but there is validity to it of being a fiduciary, right? So the advice coming out of our mouth is in their best interest. We're independent from an investment perspective. There's no investment commissions or kickbacks or anything like that. So it's very clean. When we do implement investments too, it's the same investments that we personally would invest in. So kind of controlling cost and being mindful that these are the best solutions we can come up with for folks is important. But then on the planning side, it gives people comfort and direction when they have a strategy and a plan that they're working. So they're not caught off guard with, well, what do I do about this? Well, we've already addressed it. It's built in your plan. So this is what we're going to do. It gives them comfort to make big decisions around, can I afford this home, or should I buy the second home, or can I retire now? By building a plan and having that strategy in place, it gives people confidence to kind of move forward in life and make those big decisions.
So, and this may or may not be a way that you think about it, but if you think about somebody's financial life as sort of a bucket, that's the investment portfolio. Money comes in, that's savings. Money goes out to do whatever it is. It's support a lifestyle, pay for college, buy a house. Where would you say your focus is on if somebody's saying, well, if you had to allocate the focus between what goes in, what do you do with what's in the bucket, and managing what comes out, how would you kind of allocate the importance of those?
Yeah, very high. If we have a client review meeting, I would say 90% of the meeting is spent on reviewing the strategy of their financial plan. I would say maybe 10%, and that's probably high, is actually spent on the implementation of the investments and what's going on inside the investments.
So if I can just translate that into my analogy, that's what goes in and what comes out, not so much what are we actually doing on the investment side.
Correct.
I
And
think,
it's not because we don't do a good job there. It's because that 90% is where the clients want to spend the time. That's what's really important to them.
if you're getting people, and I assume that on average, as your clients age, their net worths are rising. I mean, that's pretty standard, right?
It is.
Would most of them or lots of them be in a position where they no longer have to worry about withdrawal? They're never going to spend it all. They're not in any danger of spending it all.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're fun conversations. We do run financial forecast, right? So we use Money Guide Pro and they get their probability of success. And many of our clients have 99, which would be the highest you can have. And it's a different conversation. Now it starts evolving into what else is going to create happiness, because it's not, hey, just go spend money because you have money now. It's what use of these resources that you've built up is going to create happiness for you. And then that evolves into, a lot of charitable discussions, family gifting. What else do you want to do with this money? It's a great question for those folks. But I phrase it in a lot of different ways. A lot of advisors will phrase things to get clients thinking. And one of them is, you won the game. You have a 99. You've won. What else can we do here with this? You've secured your financial life. What other good do you want to do with this money that's going to make you happy?
Yeah, that's a great point. I think it's easy to lose sight of the fact that for most of us, essentially being born in America means we won.
Yeah, and I mean, another way I phrase it is, you're sacrificing more than you have to, because there are folks where I think it's hard for them to change behavior, especially around money.
Yeah.
And they may have lived a certain way and they didn't buy the nicer car, or they didn't take the nicer trip just because that's how they're built and wired. So sometimes you can encourage them to maybe do a little more for themselves, which creates happiness. But I've also found sometimes it doesn't create any more happiness for them. Like, they don't want to do that. It actually brings a little more stress.
I was going to ask you if you ever find somebody and they may have 10 million or 20 million, or they're never going to spend it,
Yeah.
but they'd rather drive a 2-year-old car than get a
Yep.
brand new, whatever the latest thing is.
And we have a lot of them. And my job is to kind of partner with them and just explain, you can, but I don't push it hard, because I know that a lot of those people are happy kind of with what they're doing and the style of life and the way they are. Where I've seen them enjoy that conversation does bring in the charitable side, or setting up their family, whether it's paying for tuition for a relative, right? Maybe not their child, but a niece or a nephew, right? There's other ways to do good with that money that creates happiness, where they feel like it's almost like a value proposition conversation. They will spend it if they can see the value, whether it's for themselves or society. And it's a fun conversation to have.
It is. That's cool. Steve, with all your success, what would you say is your biggest challenge now?
It's a good question. I think one of the things I'm focused on is, how do we double the size of the company over X number of years, right? A way of doing that is you have to bring people with you, right? So we have a good layer of advisors. I think there's 5 or 6 now. Certified financial planners. Maybe they used to be a relationship manager with us. We've kind of organically brought them up in our way of doing things, and helping those folks now kind of continue to grow their client base. It's also exciting. I think there's a way to do that in a better fashion than the traditional model of our industry, where it's kind of you hire somebody, you give them a phone and say, hey, go find some clients. The way we've structured it is, hey, come be a relationship manager, have a salary, feed yourself, your family, learn the business the right way. And then as they mature, to help them build their client base. I know they'll do a good job bringing in the business. It's just getting the name is probably the hardest part for young investors. So the more we can help them with that piece, the more the firm will kind of grow. So it's definitely a challenge, but I also think it's a fun part of the business as well.
Are you guys focused on the Philadelphia area?
We have clients probably in about 35 states at this point.
Okay.
I would say most is in the area, right? Naturally. But with the virtual world post-COVID now, I've even had people say, I don't want to work with a local advisor. I like the fact that you're not in my backyard, which I kind of found that interesting as an evolution of this.
It is interesting. What else would you like our audience to know that we haven't had a chance to talk about yet?
I think a lot of it is almost like dating, right? There's a lot of good people in this industry, and part of it is kind of finding someone that you have a connection with, because I think it's an important relationship in life with your advisor. It's not just somebody you hire and does things for you. It's a true relationship. I get a lot of phone calls that are not about money, right? About kind of life and guidance. And you kind of become an extension of that person's village that they have. So I think advice for advisors is, try to do more for your folks. It doesn't mean you're injecting yourself and giving advice where you shouldn't, but just try to have a deeper relationship. And I think you'll find it more rewarding.
Where can the audience go to learn more about you guys?
So our website, thrivewealth.com, is a great place. We have an area you can subscribe to. We call it I Thrive Ideas. And we're constantly putting out material on various planning topics, more from an education perspective. So I think that would be a helpful place for folks to start.
Is that like a newsletter?
Yeah, it's an email that goes out every other Friday with different links you can click on. Sometimes it's a video of us talking about a topic, or sometimes it's an article on something we found interesting. So it's just a way of getting good content around the financial planning area. It's not a sales type thing. It's more education.
I'll take a look at it. Sounds interesting.
Yeah.
You guys produce it in-house?
We do. And I thought about outsourcing it, but it never really comes off well. I feel like we have enough people internally. I think there's 15 of us total now. So for everybody to do 3 or 4 pieces a year is not a big deal. And I think for readers, it's interesting. You get, some different perspectives, some older advisors, some younger folks that might have a different topic that you may relate to.
And people do they have to be a client to get that?
No.
So in case somebody wasn't paying attention a minute ago, can you repeat that?
Yeah, you just go to thrivewealth.com. There's a drop down I Thrive Ideas, and there's a subscribe area. You just kind of put your email in, click subscribe, and every other Friday you'll get a message from us in your inbox. We also found that was helpful for folks, and our name then is in front of them. And if they have some life event or they need extra guidance, they'll reach out.
Any idea how many people are on that email list?
Probably 2,500 at this point, I would think.
So maybe a third of them are clients and the rest are not.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. Interesting. All right. Steve, I wish we had more time. Thank you very much. It's really been a pleasure. And thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Roger. Appreciate the time.
Thank you for listening to another episode of Sterling Insights, Stand Out and Supercharge Your Assets, where we provide the info you need from successful leading financial advisors, lawyers, and CPAs. Your hosts, Roger and Catherine Silk, invite you to learn more about Sterling Foundation Management by visiting sterlingfoundations.com.